Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a book 2014 release, Chapter 6, Part B. Okay, sorry about how abruptly that last one ended. I ran out of time. The next thing that we're going to do when we are on the top of page 181, we are going to create a custom color. We're going to save that custom color for use later on. We're going to create a color using the color panel and then save that color as a swatch. So right now you're going to select this, use your selection tool and click on that white bar that's right above this green bar. And what we're going to do next, we've got that selected. Um, we're going to click the color panel icon. So there's our color panel, and make sure that the white fill box is to the front as it is here. And you're going to, if you don't see all of these things, if your color comes up like that, you just need to go to Show Options. Make sure that CMYK is selected and select Show Options. Now, we have this lovely color bar that we can make a little bit larger, and what we're going to do next is select a light green color. And it doesn't matter what the color is. If you really want to follow the book, you can do the 42-0, 62-0. Oh, we don't all have to use that same color. Be a little more inventive than that and pick something that you like. Just make it fairly pale because of the colors that we're going to be adding. And yes, you can be really picky. You can type the colors in, but pick what you want. Now, we are going to go ahead and turn this into, I'm going to make sure that that is 0, just because I don't want any black. You never really want to have all of your colors out to 100%. Because just simply it puts so much ink on. I mean, you might do 100% cyan or 100% magenta, but generally you will only have one slider that will be 100% because it is not making a 100% total. What you do is you're doing a super saturation of ink. So it's either 0% to 100% of cyan, 0% to 100% magenta. If you put 100% cyan, 100% magenta, and 100% yellow, you may as well not put any black in because it's going to produce black. So, and it's going to take a long time for that ink to dry, which is why we have black to begin with, is because if you did 100% ink saturation of yellow, 100% of magenta, and 100% of yellow to produce the black, then you would have so much ink on the paper would never dry. Well, it would take a really long time and things would smear and stuff like that. So that's not why that's there. So we add black as a toner so that we don't have to use the higher concentrations of the inks to produce the color that we really want. And that's graphic design people and art people. You will know that. The CIS people, you haven't been exposed to that yet. But understand that it's to control the amount of ink that you're putting on the paper so that the paper will dry in a reasonable length of time. Once we've got this color now and it's applied, we want to keep that bar selected. We're going to go to the color swatch, and here we're going to create a new color. So all we need to do is click on the new swatch, which is the one right to the left of the garbage can, and by default, the swatch is going to be named whatever the percentage is that you're using, or it's going to round off. It's not going to use the decimals. That is the default name. Now you can change that name. So we're all going to change this. Since we've got a light green, we're going to change it to light green, or something identifiable. If you really didn't want to use green and you wanted to use another color, just identify this as your color. When you hit OK, notice the color pops up here in the window in this bar, which is the bar that is, well, the fill is pretty much, it continues on and on and on. We don't have it in a folder. It's not being saved in a particular folder for this document at this point. But the color comes up in the order, so will fill out this line. If we added 10 more colors, we would start from this, and then it would automatically enter another line in there in the swatches panel. Okay, so we've got the rest of the options and left the same. We clicked OK, and now this is added, and it has a white border around it indicating that that is the color that is selected. With the selection tool now, we're going to select the third white tree, 1, 2, 3, it's actually the center tree, on the top of the sign. In the swatches, if you can't see all of the swatches, just pull and down the panel so that you can see all of them. And we are going to apply whatever color that was that you just created. We're going to put that on that tree. Okay, when you apply a swatch from the swatches panel, it's always important to select the stroke or the fill first so that it paints the right part. Now, right now, I have a black outline on here. I'm going to select that black outline, see how it pops to the front of the two squares there, and we're going to apply none. So you're taking off the stroke, so now all you have is a fill color. If I click to the side to deselect, you no longer have that black outline. We're going to create a copy of a swatch. We're going to copy it, and we're going to copy and edit this last swatch that we just did. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select that swatch, and I want to, oh, I just added something. Do I have anything selected? No. Let me go to none again. I've got that swatch to the front because that's the fill. I want that on the front, and we're going to go back. Well, that pretty much selects the green, that green that we just made, because that was the last color we used. Go to the new swatch button again at the bottom and click on that. Notice this comes up with the same color information, and that's why we had to make sure we had that fill box selected, was because if you had the nuns selected, you can't make a new none. So in this box, we are now going to create, instead of duplicating that green again, we're going to do something called orange. So we want somewhere about a 15% on the cyan, somewhere around 45 in magenta. You can control your color as you're creating it. Somewhere a higher value for yellow, and no black at all. Your colors don't have to match my colors. I'm at 14, 40, 68, 0. The ones in the book should give you 15, 45, 70, and 0. Doesn't have to be. You can make it whatever you want, but make it as some kind of an orangey color there. And say, okay, we now have a swatch that is called orange, and we are still working in that color mode of CMYK. We could have changed it in here, by the way, because the color mode is processed. You could do it as a spot color, but or you could change in here to CMYK, but we are building for a print object, so we want to stay with CMYK because otherwise it might not work out right. Okay, now we want to go to the next bar up that we selected. Click on that bar, and then making sure that the fill is to the front. Click to select that orange that you just created. After the color is created and it's saved, we can edit a color. You want to click to select that light brown sign shape that we did first. The fill box is selected. Now double click this to open that sign BG that we had, and we're going to make a change to it. So we're going to change the K value to 0. So Once you see that the change that you made to the swatch is applied to the color, to the shape, you can and you can click on preview to make sure that it's applied. You can say OK to this. If you don't have the object selected, it's not going to change the color. So if we wanted to, we could have just changed this, not applied it, and we would have a new color swatch, not a change color swatch. We're going to create a color and make it a global color, which is a little bit different. If you do a global color, all the artwork with that swatch applied is going to be updated. Okay? With the selection tool, you're going to get that last white bar at the top of the stack. And in the swatches panel, we're going to do a new swatch. So click new. Now what comes up is the color that was selected. And what we're going to do with this one is we name this forest green. And click on global. We want a fairly high cyan, about a 50% for magenta, about a 50% for the yellow, and make sure your black is zeroed out. Now you can control this and make this a little more blue or a little more green, whatever is going to make you happy. Just try not to get it exactly the same color as this other swatch at the bottom. But pull up something in a blue-green, fairly dark blue-green that you're happy with, and say OK. And now we have that swatch. It's called forest green. The new swatch this time came up in the top row of colors right next to the white swatch. When we selected the shape, it was filled with white. So the white swatch was selected in the panel. We clicked the new swatch to make the new color. It duplicated the swatch. It put the new swatch next to the original color. We want to keep the things together, so we're going to just click on it and drag it down and put it next to the brown or the orange that we had just created. Now the other thing I want you to notice is that it has a little white corner on it. And that is because it is a global swatch. That little white triangle means it is global. So if we were to change that swatch, it will change the color without having to go make sure that everything is selected. So we want to pick up this second white tree, make sure that the fill box is active, apply your new color to it, and then we're going to delete the stroke simply by changing the stroke weight to 0, which again makes that stroke go away. So now we can deselect. Now, this is what's great about having a global selection. If we go in and double click that swatch that we just made, we'll bring it up. We're going to make that, we want to maybe to make that a little bit darker color, so we're going to drag a little bit of black in there. And as we drag in the black and we select preview, watch what happens. This is where we were, this is what happens. We can make the changes. So maybe you want to make a change and do some adjusting to the color that you created before. And once you get it to where you like it, you're going to say OK, and everything that had the global color applied to it is going to change even though they weren't selected.